How common is it to see friends just popping pills during finals?
It's the norm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you actually see them popping pills, or do they just say, I just had an Adderall, so I'm ready to go?
I mean, if you're in the library, you might see someone taking one, or, someone will come out and be like, oh, I just took an Adderall and I just finished my 5-page paper in 3 hours,
These students are among the nearly 20,000 undergraduates at the University of Kentucky in Lexington. They range from a sophomore to a recent graduate, but they all agree taking Adderall is common practice on campus when students need to pull an all-nighter to churn out a paper or cram for an exam.
Everybody's trying to get an edge, and if you can take a pill that will help you study all night to get that grade you need, a lot of people don't see why they wouldn't do it.
Adderall is an amphetamine that came on the market in 1996. Along with Ritalin, another stimulant, it's prescribed to increase mental focus in people with attention disorders.
I've taken them to study for tests and write papers and things like that. I've never even been tested for ADD, but they do work. Adderall.
Lauren, who's a junior, was the only student who told us she has taken the drug without a prescription.
If I've taken it, I can stay awake and I feel productive. I want to be doing what I'm doing.
I understand that it can make boring work actually more interesting.
If I'm not on Adderall, I'll read something and I'm not really interested at all. You're just trying to keep yourself focused. But then you take an Adderall and you all of a sudden are just totally consumed in what you're doing.
Does anyone think, though, it makes them have a better grasp or understanding of the material?
I'd say it's more, it makes you more detail-oriented than anything else. If you're detail-oriented and you're focused, everything becomes a lot easier to understand than when you're not on it.
But is there science to back up their claims?
We're going to be looking inside your brain.
At the Brookhaven National Laboratory in New York, psychiatrist Nora Volkow is testing stimulants, in this case Ritalin, on a subject who's sleep deprived, similar to a college student who's been up all night studying.
So today's subject, Steve, hi Steve, he has not slept all night.
Correct.
Dr. Volkow's study shows that Ritalin works in a healthy brain the same way it does in the brain of someone with an attention disorder. In these areas, marked by red, stimulants trigger an increase of the chemical dopamine.
And what does dopamine do exactly?
Dopamine is like a messenger. It activates the rest of the cells in the brain to pay attention.
So they make you more alert?
They make you more alert, focused, interested, motivated.
What are we observing?
Alan DeSantis, a communications professor at the University of Kentucky, says he was so baffled by his students' casual use of Adderall, he decided to study it.
When we asked the students why they use ADHD stimulants, many refer to it as a steroid for the brain.
In a survey of nearly 2,000 students at the university, DeSantis found that 34% of undergraduates overall had taken attention deficit drugs illegally without a prescription. And that number climbs the longer they're in school.
If you were to ask what percentage of juniors and seniors are using ADHD stimulants, the number is well above 50, pushing 60%. And then if you add in juniors and seniors who are in fraternities and sororities, the number is up about 80%.
Martha Farah, a psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, wants to find out if Adderall is really giving students the edge they think it is.
Okay, ready for your pills?
She's using a variety of tests, from visual memorization to creativity to the math SAT, to determine how Adderall impacts performance. Her research subjects don't know if they are given 20 milligrams of Adderall or a placebo.
Jennifer, do you think you're on the pill today?
Yes.
And how did it affect you?
I found that the tasks might have been a little easier to get through.
Farah says some studies have actually shown the drugs hurt performance in certain people, and she worries that it may make others so overly focused they get tunnel vision and lose creativity.
With math problems, often you can find kind of a more elegant, easier way to find the solution, or you can have kind of a brute force, just trying to plug out all the numbers and get the answer that way.
Just barreling through?
Yeah, and I felt like when I thought I was on the pill, it was much harder for me to find those more elegant solutions to the problems.
Dr. Nora Volkow is not only a scientist, she's the director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse. She cautions that stimulants like Adderall and Ritalin can be addictive. So much so, they're in the same class of drugs as cocaine. They can cause heart and blood pressure problems, and the long-term effect on the developing brains of young people without an attention disorder is still unknown. Dr. Volkow stresses that the drugs are most dangerous when crushed and snorted, which leads to a quick high. But she warns that even casual use of the drugs without a prescription can escalate and lead to addiction.
What would you say to college students who think this is no big deal at all, that they can self-medicate and they have it completely under control?
We all want to believe that we are under control to justify whatever we want to do. The reality is there are side effects of these drugs. One of them is addiction, but another one can be psychosis. So it's not worth the risk to be playing with a drug that has potentially very adverse effects. Addiction is not a pretty face.
What do you guys think? Do you think that kids will be able to just stop cold turkey after they get that diploma?
I think that's yet to be seen. I think we're kind of the first guinea pig generation that's grown up with this.
Brandon Adams started taking Adderall in college. Now 31, he teaches economics at Harvard.
A lot of attention has been given to undergraduates taking these drugs, but what about people like professors?
I think it's extremely common. It's extremely common in all of the professions from what I've seen.
He admits he recently finished writing a book with the help of Adderall.
There I would probably average twice a week.
So you'd take one in the morning when you really had to focus on writing, and you'd be able to have a very productive day?
Yes.
Adams says other drugs are also being used as neuroenhancers. One he's tried is Provigil, first developed to treat the symptoms of the rare sleep disorder narcolepsy.
People found that it was helpful as a stimulant for, working in law offices and in academics and stuff like this. So I would say it's in the past 5 to 10 years that it's become popular as a performance enhancer.
Last year alone, there were more than 2 million Provigil prescriptions filled, some for truck drivers on long hauls and doctors working around the clock. And as scientists continue to better understand how the mind works, it's likely we'll soon see new, more potent drugs that can be used to boost your brain power.